I mean, my God, it's the best group there is. You know, that it doesn't matter whether you met the people before or not. Everybody loves everybody. You know, it's an extremely friendly group of people.
I think now that the reason that we've continued to travel to a large extent are the people that we've met. I pretty well fulfilled most of my bucket list, but I certainly enjoy the way that you travel with the Aggies, Traveling Aggies. They make all the arrangements. You just show up. It's really easy.
And everyone is so friendly. And if you happen to be on a trip that Jennifer is hosting, you just follow her around and gin tour here, gin tour there.
I think my favorite unique, I don't know if it's crazy, but my favorite story is whenever we were in Santorini on our first night. We got there and we went and had dinner and it was amazing. Nobody was really planning on going out and drinking or anything, but we ended up going out and all of us collectively we're just in such a good spirit, and somehow or another we ended up in a German bar in Greece and started singing the Aggie War Hymn. And it was just, that's something you can't shake. You know, you're standing in there, you got 26 other Aggies, and you're all singing the war hymn, swaying back and forth. And of course everybody else in the bar was like, who are these crazies and what is going on? But you knew in your heart, like, this was something special.
When we first went on our trip, our bus was very talkative, and unfortunately, they couldn't get everybody settled down, so I screamed to the top of my lungs, howdy, and everybody just immediately went silent and responded and looked up, and the bus driver and the tour guide said, wow, is that what we need to do? The OSU fan didn't think that was very much fun, but he eventually came around.
So we had a wonderful opportunity. We did some sea kayaking, and the Dishmans were with us. So David and Dion were there, and we were out in 2 kayaks, and we had a trail vehicle, by the way. There was like some guides following us to make sure nothing really bad happened to us. But so we got to paddle a ways and then come back with the current. And the funny part of that, by the way, was, so here we are, we're being told, don't go near the rocks. And we're trying to honor, and they're the Dishmans over there. They're really close, having a great time. But as we collectively got back together, we looked down, and here's a sea turtle sort of cruising the water underneath us. And as we're just going along with it, you couldn't really get photos under the water because you're kayaking, trying to stay with it. And at one point, the sea turtle moved back, and we spun the kayaks around, and we trailed with it again. It turned back, and we spun the kayaks again. And so it was one of those surreal experiences of being able to do something you think about or you see, and there it was. There was that big sea turtle right beneath us, and probably 3 feet across. It was a unique experience I think for all of us that were in the sea kayaks.
Many people said, why go to Antarctica? I said, well, the first reason, it's there. And the second reason was it was our 7th continent. As a matter of fact, our 6th continent was Africa, which we did with the Traveling Aggies. And my 5th continent was Australia. So we had been to the other 4, and now we're going back to Asia again tomorrow. On our Antarctica trip, one of the funniest things that happened was Kevin Andrews, who is a big guy, he's class of 66, he's about 6'3", he shows up in a penguin suit. And it was also his 7th continent. So he had a scroll saying Antarctica, our 7th continent. So we were all taking pictures with that. And a good picture was taken with a little penguin in the foreground looking up at Kevin, and we all said, Kevin, he's saying, are you my daddy?
There was one evening when the Galapagos park ranger, Chris, no, not Chris, but Dennis.
Dennis.
So the one night when Dennis took us to the top deck of the boat and gave us an astrological sort of view, and it's my first time across the equator, and so we're in the southern hemisphere, and we're seeing the Southern Cross, and you've got shooting stars galore happening, and it's pitch dark. I mean, it's absolutely dark. There's no lights on the island. They turned off all the lights on the boat. There's some running lights just dimly in the water, but to be able to experience that, it was almost like watching a fireworks show up on top and to be part of that. And then this real scary part about it, though, was when you did look over the side of the boat, the running lights had attracted all the Galapagos sharks. And if you had fallen over, you were a feast. It was, but it makes you want to stand back from the rail. You're looking up at this glory and you're looking down at what could be it would be your death. And it's all happening simultaneously. And I think that's a great transition to that island.
So I originally got involved with Traveling Aggies through my best friend, who her and I actually went on the trip together. She reached out to me because we were kind of planning a European trip, and she was like, "Hey, this is happening. Like, they're going to Greece, and this is kind of on our list." And it was within seconds I knew that that's exactly what we were going to do, knowing that A&M was involved, and then we were going to Greece. I actually had never heard of the Traveling Aggies group before she reached out to me, and I think she found it on like a young alumni newsletter.
Porter had taken some people to Argentina earlier on a Traveling Aggies trip, including a fellow from Georgia Tech, his sort of contemporary. So he asked Porter to put some people together, and Porter got 5 or 6 of us. The hunting was fun, but the more important thing was we hunted. The guy who hosted us was the guy named Chuck Lavelle, who is the keyboardist for the Rolling Stones. So we had more fun talking to him than actually hunting.
It's sort of an odd piece. So we've been here for 2 years and moved into the vice president's house there, vice president of student affairs, and the wife here with us. And it was, it really, so anyway, it was kind of nice. The surprising piece, Jennifer, that people will want to travel with you. And I was like, really, with me, with her? Maybe her, not me, but it was just kind of fun to do.
We were on a river cruise, and there are 12 castles along that river. We got to have dinner in one of them. It's something that you get to do things that if you were doing it by yourself, you wouldn't be able to go up and have dinner at a castle.
I think it would be Africa. I think mainly because as a young man in my teens, I dreamed of going to Africa. There was a time when I actually dreamed of being a professional hunter in Africa. But I had a good friend, a fellow classmate at A&M, and we always wanted to go to Africa, and particularly to hunt Cape buffalo. And we just never did it. And fortunately, the Traveling Aggies added sporting travel to the portfolio many years ago. And it was one of the, not the first, but one of the first sporting travel trips. And I was honored to host it, obviously. And I just remember the people, the experience of a new continent for me. I've never been to Africa. And the anticipation of hunting dangerous game. And the professionals that I was associated with, the professional hunters, the professional trackers, everybody that was on that trip were just superb Texas Aggies.
We had Herbie, who was a part of the Czech Europe group, who was kind of our host, and then he was just incredible. Everything that needed to get done, he did. We never had to worry about making sure our hotels were ready, or if dinner was going to get served, or when we went out, drink tabs and things like that, or events that we went through. He always was just right on point, and we just kind of showed up, and he told us what to do, and we had a great time. And then the, liaison from the Alumni Association, Amy Hale, was just an incredible human, and having those two people part of the trip, just kind of guiding you through this vacation, was just so much fun.
The people, there's no question. The people are the best part of the program, and it just seems like we draw the best people to the Traveling Aggies program. Every trip I've been on has been memorable for many reasons. Where we've been, what we've done. But when you come back and start reflecting and thinking about what you really enjoyed about the trip, invariably it's the people.
It's so friendly. I mean, I love going on any of the trips when you're on a boat and you put the flag up on top.
We had about a 4-hour layover in Los Angeles the first day, and we were there, and people started coming in from other destinations, and they all knew each other. Well, it was our first trip. Beginning to feel a little bit like an outsider, so I turned to Susan and I said, "Well, we'll still enjoy it. We'll have a lot of fun, but it seemed like they have their own little groups." Well, that didn't last very long. Steve Saroff found out that I wanted to go to Tanzania and Serengeti, and they had just returned from there. He's immediately showing me pictures. He helped me get Susan on board to go to Tanzania, and by the time we left the airport that day, I really didn't feel like a stranger or an outsider anymore.
And that was 3 trips ago, and now another one coming up tomorrow. So we really latched on to the Traveling Aggies.
Well, I regret that I can't be with the Traveling Aggies this evening. The Travel Reunion is one of my annual favorite events, and it's only a family commitment that keeps me away from your dinner tonight. But I would like to say thank you. Thank you to all the travelers that make our program what it is today. I'd also be remiss if I didn't thank Marissa and Jennifer for the outstanding job they do and the teams they lead. But as we look back on the Traveling Aggies program, it's 51 years now of success. I think we'd all agree that it is you, the travelers, who make the difference for this program and who help us export the Aggie spirit all over the world. And for that, I thank you for helping us achieve our noble mission, and thank you for traveling with the Traveling Aggies.
Yeah,
Gig 'em.
Gig 'em, Ags.
Gig 'em.
Gig 'em.